This is the days of our lives.
Thank you, McDonald Carey.
Mara, again, good morning. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
And of course, you're an author. Explain to us, you were going to tell us how the soap opera evolved into becoming...
Yes, I got fascinated by this longer form of storytelling. So I then created my own soap, much to the consternation of my agent at the time, and created it as a radio drama. And it got picked up by a small station on the central coast of California, then a larger station, then a station in New York, and ultimately it jumped the pond and became the first American radio serial that the BBC ever broadcast. Wow. We still didn't know if it would work because we were competing with fabulous British dramas, but the producer called and said, "You might like to pop over. It's doing rather well." And we had 4.5 million listeners.
It's like ring me up.
Yes, yes. So while that was on the air, there was talk of, should this become novels? And I said yes, and you know what happens in your life when you say yes? It starts to happen. So here we are doing novels.
Wow.
We're going to jump back just a skosh. We're going back to Days of Our Lives. Right now we have an offering, about a 1-minute excerpt from Days of Our Lives, starring, of course, Mara Purl as Nurse Darla. Let's take a look.
I have something here I think you should see.
Not now, Emma. I don't have the time.
Make time.
What's this?
Something I think you'll find very interesting. I'll leave you to read it in private.
Kimberly Brady. Amniocentesis report carried thalassemia. I'd like some information on something called thalassemia.
Thalassemia. I think it's some kind of a blood disorder. Here. It might be listed in this.
Okay.
Excuse me. 7th floor nurse's station. Yes, sir. Right away.
Thalassemia. Nick?
Yes.
As we know,
yes.
you know how many men said, you know, I never had a nurse who looked like that.
And you know what also men said? I never watch a soap opera.
Yes.
Not true.
Not quite true.
No,
Not
it's
quite
not true.
true.
And you know,
Yes.
the other thing I noticed in watching this clip, everyone is so gorgeous, so good looking. Was that part of the persona to say, you know what?
I think that was part of the requirement, at least at that
The
point.
hair is perfect.
The hair
whole
is
look.
perfect, yes. I had big, you know, beautiful long nails as Nurse Darla, but who cares? You know, that kind of storytelling, it's realistic, and yet it is a heightened sense of emotion. And that's part of what goes forward in the novels, too, I would say.
Also, we have 2 minutes from the Today Show. Set us up for this particular excerpt.
So I'm what's called a hyphenate. So I'm a writer and a performer, and had a wonderful career as a journalist. One of my jobs was with Rolling Stone, and I wrote about the Greenpeace voyage, went on this voyage. We went thousands of miles in the North Pacific. This now is research for actually book 2 in my series, which comes out next October. So you're getting a sneak peek.
Let's take a look. Well, I think it's like a live soap opera, folks.
Jane is standing by this morning with 2 people who literally put their own lives on the line to help save an endangered species. Jane?
For the past 4 summers in the Pacific Ocean, a David and Goliath battle has been going on to save the sperm whale, which is on the endangered species list. The antagonists are the Russian whaling ships and a group of idealistic American environmental activists from the Greenpeace Foundation, I guess you could say, are the protagonists. Philip Caston is the leader of the expeditions, and Mara Purl, a reporter who went along last summer on their expedition in the North Pacific, are here to tell us about their extraordinary nonviolent confrontations with the Russian whaling fleet. Well, I guess it wasn't that pleasant this year.
Well, the reception was quite different. I wrote about last year's expedition, though I was not a member of it. And although the Russians were not whaling at the moment they encountered them last year, they were moving rather slowly, and they permitted this boarding. This year, they made sure that they were going too fast for us to board.
We have some film that was shot during this last expedition. How recently was this film
Well,
shot?
it just ended at the end of August.
Okay, well, let's take a look at it if we could, and maybe you will tell us what we're seeing as we see it.
That's our ship, the MV Peacock, which is out of San Pedro.
144 feet long.
Right.
Painted, every year we paint the ships with rainbows and whales, symbolizing what we're out there for.
And the Russians know when they see one of your little white boats
They
coming.
see the rainbows.
The green piece is here.
Right. Now this is in a Zodiac. That's the name of those outboard ships that we move around in.
That's the Russian factory ship, which is over 600 feet long.
And that is where, that's sort of headquarters. It's a floating headquarters, in
Yes,
effect.
they can process a whale in, I think it's an hour, an entire whale.
And how many whaling ships are, in fact, feeding that factory?
About 10.
Yeah.
Now, what are you're heading off now?
Mara, tie in how this experience that you had ties into what the heart knows and your character, Miranda.
My character, Miranda Jones, is a painter and an environmentalist. And these stories are set in the 90s. So it is recent history, a slightly different world, pre-9/11, pre-millennial change. This experience was very rich for me, almost a war experience, haunting, meaningful, and so that passion has never left me. And how wonderful as a writer to be able to have a real life experience that I can weave into the story.
And then put it into words in the book.
And it will be part of book 2 in this series, this is called What the Heart Knows, and book 2 is Where the Heart Lives.
Mara's going to stay with us, joining her after the short commercial.